He's a super athlete. You know, of course the show's over, but
You want to do an insert disc too?
no, you don't have to do that. But I'm just saying, Olympic heroes, do they still exist?
Yeah.
Like Michael Phelps, remember when he won all those gold medals? It got ludicrous after he won. But then all of a sudden he's a big drugged up jerk. Okay?
Right.
And so that's shot. The gymnastics team, we were all real proud of them. All their coach is some kind of like pedophile jerk.
Right.
They ruined that for us. They ruin everything.
What about the flaming carrot or whatever? The snowboard guy, Shaun White?
Yeah, well, that's hard for me to get excited about snowboarding.
I know, you're not of that generation.
No, it's got nothing to do with that. That's not a sport. There's there are sports where you reach a goal, like a measured goal, and then you've got sports that are judged.
So Mary Lou Retton, not a hero in your eyes.
Listen, I'm just telling you. I'm not saying that. I'm saying when you've got judged sports, it causes. Listen, why is figure skating so goofy? You know, because and there's criteria in all these sports that the scoring is based on, but at the end of the day, they're judged. When you've got a guy like Daley Thompson here, who when he does the long jump, they take a tape measure and measure it, bam, it's in. There's no one judging his form as he jumps. You know. There's something to be said for that.
Sure.
Like I love Mary Lou Retton, but listen, there were mitigating circumstances. There were no Soviet countries there.
She was from West Virginia, which gave her an edge. It's a judged sport.
People were super patriotic. Now she had a great. Listen, no one's going to say that vault wasn't a 10. Show me a sucker that tells me that it wasn't. And she had a top shelf Olympics. She looked great.
Where was she from in West Virginia?
Fairmont.
Fairmont. Okay.
But when you have a measurable sport in the Olympics, there's something there because, like Usain Bolt's the fastest guy on earth. Not because he looks good running or people, because he beat the other time.
Right, it's an objective thing. Absolutely.
And so, but I mean, I guess people just don't get off on that stuff anymore. I mean, throughout my lifetime on back, like all the way to the Greeks and the Romans, sportsmen were heralded as like the princes of men. Their feats were godlike. They could excel in areas that a normal person couldn't excel in. And it made them people that were interesting, that were in demand. People would buy, and I read that in Roman times, but they would, when they had to wrestling, the grappling, people would pay for the sweat off these guys. There was an aphrodisiac or something like that because it was so coveted.
Right.
Now, I don't think even people are even that much in the sports anymore. I mean, part of it's because there's so many other things to get into.
Well, there's just so many different sports now.
Right, but I mean, not just that. I mean, like my kid doesn't give a jack squat about baseball. He played, like when I was a kid, I knew all the baseball players, I knew all the positions, I knew all the rules. These kids don't know jack squat about baseball. None of them. I mean, there's some that care, but most of them don't give a crap. Their parents stuck them out there just like I did. Like Luke doesn't come home and watch baseball or MMA. He doesn't care, you know. It's not bad. It's just
I think and it's sort of anecdotal based on your son too. I think that there's still kids that care about sports. Is it as big of a thing now that there's video games and esports? You know, maybe esports is the new sports.
Well, esports is not a sport.
What are you talking about, man?
No, it's a competition.
It's a death. It's a competition to the death.
It's a competition, but it's not a sport. Involves some sort of physicality. That's a competition.
What about this? This is a precision.
Is the spelling bee as a sport? No, it's a competition. That's a difference. So it's okay, and you can call it esports because it's got a nice ring to it. But I mean, listen, I could go and play an esport. Esports. Here's the hierarchy of sports. Okay, you've got your track athletes, your high level football and baseball and soccer players. They're up here, and you got then the next level down. You've got guys that are like in the pseudo-ish sports. You got your race car drivers, your golfers, and then you've got below that, you've got these guys that stack cups. You've got guys that
stackers.
You've got curlers. You know what I'm saying? You've got arm wrestlers, stuff like that. Where like you have to have some skill, but it's not like you have to go and work out all day.
Cigar eaters.
Then you've got. There's your Mendoza line of sports.
Okay.
Then here's the stuff
right below arm wrestling is where it falls off.
Then you've got your people that play like competitive croquet, right?
You're saying, wait a minute. You're saying croquet, a sport where you actually do some kind of physical do you even understand how to play croquet?
No. I'm not saying it's not physical.
I can't believe you're putting that below arm wrestling.
Arm wrestling, yeah, I'd put it because you have to actually physically prepare your arms. That's my difference. Croquet, And it's just like curling. You have to have some skills. I'm not saying curling doesn't, but keep in mind now, this is all above esports. Okay. But you've got your croquet. You've got, and I would also put badminton more up the line.
Up the line.
So that's fair. Right?
Okay.
Because, I mean, you ever watch those guys, or ping pong?
It's a very athletic sport.
Right. But then you've got, so here's the croquet and your foosball types.
Okay.
Then
How about competitive billiards? Where do you put that? Snooker?
That's in the same zone. Right?
Okay.
Because those guys have skill,
Right.
but they're just blobby. And darts is another one, all right? Then, and by the way, cricket and Australian rules football, they're all way up here.
Sure.
I don't want to shortchange anybody, because
Yeah.
those guys are studs.
Rugby.
Swimming, all that stuff. Then here's your line. Okay, that's the end of real sports. Then we're moving into like the esports. I play Doom. I play what's that game that everybody in Korea plays? StarCraft 2. And not to downplay that, because you're moving into a mental area, a mental game. The line doesn't mean these guys are all great and these guys suck. The line is like mental. It's just like, this is a physical aspect of it with some mental. This is all mental. Now, there is an exception to the rule. Marathon players that say play, these guys that play like Ladybug for 36 hours. Okay, I'm gonna give those guys a pass.
Okay,
they get to come up here. Okay, everyone else is down here. That's the way I look at it.
It's funny we're talking about this. I just heard about this today. In Texas somewhere, they're building a new $50 million esports arena. And this thing is going to this thing is going to seat, tens of thousands of people. They're going to have huge screens, up on all sides, huge Jumbotron style screens, and also suites for all of the streamers and the simulcasters and all that stuff too. What do you think about that?
In all honesty, do you remember the story? I'm telling you who this guy was. There was a arcade players league that started in the 80s. And they had a big show in DC, and they booked this big arena, and then they had the show. No one showed up for this thing, and that was the end of that. They didn't pay these suckers. They had to get to fly themselves home. They were bummed. I remember where I heard the story.
It's like the Fire Festival arcade game.
Now, I know in the UK or in Korea and some other places that esports are a big deal, and from a viewer's perspective. And I will admit, I have sat down and watched very famous Street Fighter fights, or maybe some Tetris. So I'm not saying it's impossible, but the truth of the matter is, these are competitions you can watch from home without paying money to see them, and you're not going to see anything happen at this show that you can't watch on your monitor. It's not loud, you can watch baseball at home, but the difference between baseball at home and baseball at the stadium is a large gap. You know that.
Sure, the atmosphere.
Now, can they replicate that in an arena? I don't know. I saw some guys who had an arena sport where they raced drones. Did you see these guys? It was the drone racing
the drone
association
racing league. Yeah.
And they didn't draw anybody to these things. And the drones were something you could physically watch. They could crash. They could hit stuff. They could hit each other. I just wonder if someone's going to pay to watch guys play Madden or something, because you're going to draw the hardest of the hardcores to see that sort of thing. Like I like original Mortal Kombat 2. I would like to see two good players throw down, but am I paying $20, driving to the arena, parking my car, paying $15 for that, eating out that night, sitting down and spending 3 hours watching that? Probably not. And I love video games. What do you think?
Well, I think we're living in a new age. And I think we've got people that are real into watching streamers, but also people that are desperate for any kind of real world social interaction because they're not getting it through the usual channels anymore. So I think that this type of outlet will give people, if you look at things like, this is already happening. Like, do you know what the International is?
It's a competition, right?
It's a big competition for this game called Dota 2, okay? Yeah. And this thing draws 1,000 people every year. They have it all over the United States in different places every year. And I think it's actually all over the world, but it's in the U.S. sometimes. So there's people to come to this thing. I think the question remains, is this going to be like a football team where you can fill the arena every week? Because if you're spending $50 million on this thing, you're going to want to have it filled, fairly regularly.
Yeah, it's a gamble.
Yeah.
And you're betting on, see, here's something else I think. I think when you said it, you were right. A lot of people don't leave their house. And so, and because people have become accustomed to watching their movies at home and having the entertainment at home, and so it makes me wonder. I mean, it's a hassle to go to an arena. You know that.
Mm-hmm.
I see a lot of wrestling, and I'll skip a show just because it's too big a hassle for me to go. If it's not a really good show.
Mm-hmm.
So what's that mean? If it's a really good show, I'll go. If it's not a really good show, I won't go. I think it's the same thing with this esports stuff. If you've got something coming out, if I were the guy booking this and promoting it, I would have esports and of something. You know what I mean? That's how I would do it. I would have a separate event to go to give you something else to look at. That's just me.
All right, man. Thanks, guys.
Hey, guys. Thanks a whole bunch.
Sorry I didn't thank all the people in the chat on either show.
Thank you, Gary, by the way, for those lovely things. And thank you, LaRon, for my book. We really appreciate that, guys.
Yeah, and thanks for hanging out. We'll see you next week.
Adios.
Bye.